Atul Gopal from PluginIndia, and welcome to another episode. We are in Chennai today with the Daijo cycle team, and we have with us over here Shiv, who is one of the founders of the company. She was a metallurgical engineer who has huge experience in components. He was involved with other cycle companies in the past, right? So Shiv, tell us a little bit about Daijo. What does the word Daijo mean to start with?
Daijo in Buddhism, right? You could say as a vehicle that allows people to get emancipated or gets freedom.
Nirvana.
Like nirvana. The products that we manufacture also, and what it does is it eases you in life. So that is what the Buddhism meant. And from there we took a leap and said that whatever products we do should also ease one's, help in one to move much easier in life. That is how the birth of the electric cycle started. Pedal assisted, electric cycle without a throttle.
Okay. So what's the philosophy of not having a throttle?
So the idea of developing a pedal assisted cycle is to address the wellness, commute and environment. The minute you put a throttle, your wellness goes out of the picture.
Okay.
So that is where we are.
So Shiv, one thing that is particular to your cycles is that you have almost zeroed in on the mid drives versus the hub motors.
Yes.
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about the decision or the thinking that went into making the decision of putting the cycle motor in the mid rather than on the rear hub, which is the most popular design?
Or I would say the most easiest to design to do so.
Easiest also.
Easiest to do and also the cheapest design.
Okay.
Because we just get the motor, put it into the hub, put a controller and then ride it. Now when you put when you have a hub drive, you move the weight towards the end of the wheel, which means that you're moving the center of gravity to one end.
Right.
Now for an experienced rider, he would find that the back is swaying while he rides.
Okay.
So bringing the drive to the mid, we are still within that center of gravity so that you have a better balance on the drive. That is the 2. When you have a mid drive, the top being high, there is always a relative movement between the motor and the wheel. Always the motor starts first and then the wheel starts. What happens over a period, the spokes starts weakening and then you have to get it through on a regular basis.
Okay.
This you don't have that problem with the mid drive. Third would be is on a mid drive, when you come to the lowest cog, then the torque required on the motor is very high to drive you, or rather it is basically pushing you.
Correct.
So that being the case, what happens is it starts taking more of your battery.
Right.
So if you compare a mid-drive versus hub drive, generally a mid-drive would do slightly better on the battery. So which means that essentially you can come down on a smaller footprint of the battery.
Okay.
Now that is also keeping in line with our environment consciousness. Well, you want a 10H battery or a 20H battery, when you can out of a 5.6 you can get at least 40 kilometers, or for a 7 you can get a 50 kilometers. Whereas on a hub drive you would require at least about 13H or go higher.
Okay.
That being the case. And with many of these bikes having a throttle, you would need an even higher edge because the tendency is to press the throttle. Now there is one advantage of the hub. See, when you are discussing the advantages and disadvantages, again on the mid drive, since it drives on a larger crank, the torque on the motor is much less and it works well with your gears.
Correct.
There is one greatest advantage in the hub. Your chain snaps, you still can come home. But never with the mid drive.
Okay.
So that is where you have to work around on your chain.
Okay. You have to ensure it's simple.
Ensure the chain that you choose are made for electric drives.
Okay.
There are specific chains like KMC which we use. It's a specific chain that uses for electric mid drives.
Okay.
Because the material itself is different.
Now, so we've seen one design which Bosch and Panasonic they kind of use for their mid drives, where it's much bigger and more, obviously you had a choice of using components from companies like Bosch also. So you went in for a design which I think is a bit different compared to that design. So what are the benefits that you got from using this design versus a Bosch kind of a design?
So Bosch and Panasonic, they call it the frame integrated design.
Yes.
Where you do have the frame modified to the motor bracket and it comes with it.
Correct.
Whereas what we are doing is it's in the parlance called BBS, bottom bracket hung design.
Okay.
Okay. So where you modify your bottom bracket to suit the motor, and the motor that we have chosen, again, it's one of the smallest footprint that is available today in the market, and we've been working with the controllers to make it much more efficient. So that is what we chose it, because it fits into a regular design.
Shiv, one more thing which is special about your drive is that it uses a torque sensor, right? Most of the cycles that I have ridden have been using cadence sensors. So can you just tell the viewers the difference between a torque sensor and a cadence sensor? So just getting it closer for our viewers. So this is what is the strain gauge, which is actually the torque sensor, and this this part is the magnets, which is kind of going to be your cadence sensor. Yeah, okay. Three magnets over here, which is going to be the cadence sensor. So what you're seeing is that this cycle has got both the torque and the cadence sensor.
So both the torque and the cadence sensor is sit here.
Okay.
And this is the final bit. So you have the strain gauge here with the cadence sensors here.
Okay.
So the controller basically interpolates between the cadence and torque, and then there are certain ratios in which for every pedal force there is a certain number of Newton meters coming out of the motor for every level that you put in. Okay. So that is how this motor is designed, and we tweak the program for the various levels of torque that we require. So that is what we do. This is another controller which talks to the controller that sits inside the motor.
Okay.
Right? So these two communicate to give you or sense or give the instruction as and when you go on to a different level. So these are two controllers which talk to each other when you press your button. So for now, this we have bought it within the battery, but for now it is sitting there right on top. So that's the difference.
Okay. Right. So we have Jay with us, who's one of the co-founders of the company, and he looks after sales at Daijo. And by the way, the brand is Pedeleze, right? So the cycles are branded as Pedeleze. So Jay, you are looking at a premium electric cycle market, and how big is this market actually in India?
According to me, there is a huge market here. We are looking at typically 50,000 plus pan-India kind of a market.
Okay.
But
this includes the electric and the non-electric cycle, or just the electric cycle?
Just the electric. That's my perception of it.
Okay.
So the consumer is, there are a set of consumers who are a discerning consumer. He wants the best of features, and in this country, I mean, my personal opinion, they've been not getting their choice of the well thought out, well engineered solution. This is an attempt in that direction.
So tell us about how you decided on the components and the features. What was the kind of thinking process, and how did your cycling experience translate into specifications?
Right. So as a cyclist, a few things are very, very important to me. The ergonomics part of it. When I am seated on a cycle, it should be comfortable to me.
Right.
It should be the cycle which should suit to me rather than the individual adapting to the cycle. That's very, very, very important to us. So that's been the key driving factor. Ergonomics. So that kind of translated into the different componentry that we're using. For example, if you look at the machine and the man interface, I mean, I'm talking about the grips, the seat and the pedal, and the overall, the composition of the cycle. You'll find it extremely comfortable.
Right.
the grips. It's a small thing, but
Makes
devil
a
is in
lot
the detail.
it does make a
So
lot
we have paid a lot of attention to that. So when you're riding long distances, your hands should not feel numb. You should be very, very comfortable. That thought has gone into the cycle. And the seat, for a certain riding comfort, riding posture rather, you need to be very, very comfortable. Ours is very comfortable even for a long ride.
Okay.
So things like that made very, very important. That's I talk about the ergonomics part of it. And next, from the design perspective or from the product positioning perspective, what market looks at aesthetically very appealing.
Correct. In fact, your alloy wheels are a head turner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we
So
got
that's
a lot
one
of
part of
feedback.
it. The colors, the decals that you see on the cycle.
Okay.
These are not some random cycle brought in and then we have assembled it. It's everything has been thought out, engineered together, and you have the frame, you have the seat, you have the color combination. All these things add up together and gives the excellent the aesthetics part of it.
Right.
And the next part of it is I would very, very broader term speak about is the safety aspect of it. Safety is very, very important, and those have also been addressed in the design part of it.
Correct. The rear tail lamp, for example.
Yep. So we thought as a rider, when I'm riding out in the night, I should alert out to the vehicle behind. So tail lamp is a must, and that should not come from a separate battery. It should
Has
be
to come from
integrated.
that battery.
That's one part of it.
Absolutely.
The brakes. Moment you apply the brakes, we have a automatic power cut off to the motor.
Okay.
Generally, all the electric vehicle they miss out on that aspect, and moment you apply the brake,
But tell me one thing, in the option that you're giving on the hydraulic brakes, that option is not there.
no,
The cutoff is not there.
it is there. We have added a componentry which would have that part of it.
Yeah, you can see a wire coming out, so I'm assuming that.
Yeah, so that
wire
communicates to the motor,
Okay.
saying that when you apply the
stop.
brake. So this is very important from the safety perspective. Moment you apply the brake, motor shouldn't construe as a load that has to overcome, so it has to cut off the supply.
Correct.
So these are small things, but we have paid attention to that. And similarly, you look at the brakes. We have both front and rear has a disc brakes.
So when you start the cycle, there is a kind of a calibration of the torque sensor, the strain gauge that happens.
Right.
So now, suppose during the middle of the ride you go to level 0.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
And then you come back to level 1 or 2. So do you need to really calibrate again, or?
No. As long as the machine is on.
Okay. So it kind of stores in memory.
Yeah. So it calibrates and retains that in the memory. If you switch it off, when you switch it on, that's the time it recalibrates. That's when your feet have to be off the pedal.
Okay. So when you start the cycle, keep the pedal or
Off.
keep your feet off the pedal for the first 3 seconds?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing is about the luggage carrier. So some of the cyclists have wanted luggage carriers. I believe there is a luggage carrier available or in the works somewhere. So maybe we'll have a look at the picture later on.
Yeah. So we have been receiving feedbacks from the market in terms of demand for a carrier or a basket at front. We are working on that. We want to seamlessly integrate
It
with
should
the
be part of the design. Otherwise, if it's kind of
yeah.
a retrofit, it doesn't.
It doesn't
look all
work.
that good.
So we are working on that. There is something in the cards. I can't show right now,
Sure.
but that's in the cards.
Okay. So in the last few months, we've seen a lot of people not being able to supply cycles because of global shortage of parts, and somehow kudos to your team that you've been able to get delivery. So what's the secret?
We've been able to look ahead, and fortunately, for us, we have enough stock in place.
Okay.
That's one, and we have a good supply chain. I mean, we have very good partnership who are supporting us from the time we started and continue to support us.
Right.
And that's a relationship is very, very important.
And what kind of localization efforts are happening on the cycle front?
Significant part. So if I talk right now, certain components are procured locally. As we go along, we want to integrate, backward integrate our supply chain part of it. So first, we will probably looking at making our own frames.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah,
Aluminum frames.
Aluminum frames.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it is going to be a time drawn affair, but it requires investment and quite a bit of effort in that.
Fair
but
enough.
we want to be there.
Lovely.
We want to be in the motor space.
Okay.
Yeah, but these are plans.
Fair
It's
enough.
going to take over a period of time.
Right. This is about the manufacturing part. What is the thing that people can look for in cycles that you're going to be making in the future? Is there something new that is kind of something in your research that's going on which you'd just like to end by sharing with our viewers?
Yeah, so one of the first thing that we are targeting is a step-through design to address the women's ladies segment.
Right.
And electric cycle is, as I perceive it, would be the preferred mode of commute for a lady. Okay. Particularly if the husband and wife travel together, the men folks tend to ride faster than women find it difficult to keep up kind of with them. Okay. So we want them to be together.
Okay. So you want to say the first adopters, early adopters should be women so that they can beat their husband black and blue on the road.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. My wife does that, by the way, when she's on her electric cycle. Okay.
Yeah. So that's something on the card, step-through design, addressing the women folk.
Sure.
And we are making a lot of changes on the motor. Okay. You will see a lot of exciting things happening on the cycle front from the technology adaptation point of view. And as an innovation company, we are working on quite a few patents. So patent is our forte.
Sure.
So on that, there is a lot of.
So what kind of patents do you already have now?
So we have a patent on the integrating the CardioSense. We have something called a CardioSense technology.
Okay.
That will integrate with the cycle.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Lovely. Right. So all the best to
Thank
the
you.
Pedeleze team, and that's it from PluginIndia for today. Keep on watching, and we'll come up with more news from this company for sure.